must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
A resident in Nyeri County. I've got services, fast delivery of services. Today I've got my clearance from EACC. I've also got my good conduct in less than 30 minutes. So before I could have walked to Nalombi, used my day, and maybe I will not even get all the certificates I required. So I can thank the President of the Republic of Kenya for this initiative of Huduma Kenya. We have got services, free delivery of services, 2 minutes, one is gone, and I recommend him. This is the service we want.
The legal system in Kenya has seen what we call cheap activism. The judiciary is supposed to be the last temple of justice. The judges are supposed to be the last people who safeguard us from any form of ill treatment. The judiciary is supposed to help, but slowly and painfully, something is emerging in Kenya as far as the war of corruption is concerned. The judiciary seems to be playing a role of stagnating and even frustrating the international approaches of fighting corruption. The judiciary in Kenya has sunk so low to the point that judges no longer speak with one voice. If you look at the rulings that have taken place in the last 6 to 7 months, you will wonder whether this court is under the guidance of the Chief Justice, or there is what we could call uncoordinated troop movement of anybody making decisions, whatever decisions, whether they hurt the country, the security of the country, the security of the people of Kenya, whether they hurt the economy of this country. These judges have done it, and they have done it without looking back. Political activism has taken over the legal minds that we used to have in these courts. There is a need, therefore, for overhauling the entire system that can bring about good system that can help the government in the fight against corruption. President Uhuru Kenyatta has a desired legacy. A desired legacy cannot be reached when you have a corrupt, incompetent, inept judiciary. Several cases slip away. Take the cases of NYS 1, NYS 2, people who have been given bail, high-profile cases. These cases seem to have oozed away. It is very sad, therefore, for the people of Africa to sit, watch a judiciary dismantle itself and dismantle other institutions.
morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're watching us from this morning. It is just a few minutes past 11 a.m. East African time, and we're coming to you right from the Kenya's capital in Nairobi, and this is Good Morning Africa. My name is Miriam Mugutu, and thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Matanga will be joining me a little bit later, and we'll take a look at today's topics, which is do you have trust in Chief Justice Maraga's handling of judiciary in Kenya? Do you have trust in Kenya's Chief Justice David Maraga handling of judiciary in Kenya? Dr. Matanga will be looking at that, and also in Diaspora Dispatches, is security and protection of VIPs in Africa needed, and why is an MP an enemy to his own people? That are some of the topics that we'll be looking at today, together with some of the happenings across Africa. And right now, let us just go right into what is happening in Africa. But before that, just some sad news from Paris. Yesterday, France's iconic Notre Dame Cathedral went up on flames in a rolling blaze that devastated the Parisian landmark, one of the country's most visited places. Flames burst through the roof of the centuries-old cathedral and quickly engulfed the spire, which collapsed. A huge plume of smoke wafted across the city, and ash fell over a large area. Indeed, it's breaking news across the world. And if you understand the historical value of this landmark in Paris, actually it's named one of the historical UNESCO's historical sites. So the burning actually is still making headlines this morning, and of course a lot of leaders across the world have sent their messages of togetherness with the people of French. And so we start our news with some news from Sudan. The African Union's Peace and Security Council has given Sudan's military junta a 15-day ultimatum to transfer power to a civilian-led political authority or face suspension from the Pan-African body. In a statement after meeting at its headquarters in Ethiopian capital Addis Ababa, the council said a military-led transition will be completely contrary to the aspirations of the people of Sudan. It is therefore demanded that the military council step aside and hand over power to a transitional civil-led political authority within a maximum period of 15 days, or else Sudan will be barred from taking part in any AU activities until the restoration of the constitution rule, the council have said. We go to Ethiopia, where the country's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has become the first foreign leader to meet members of Sudan's new military council. General Kalaladin al-Sheikh led a delegation to a neighboring Ethiopian's capital Addis Ababa on Monday to brief Mr. Abiy about the latest developments in Sudan following the overthrow of President Omar al-Bashir, the Prime Minister's office have confirmed. And still in Ethiopia, more than 150 fighters of Ethiopia's Oromo Liberation Front, OLF rebel group, who entered into a peace deal with the government, are being treated in hospital for suspected poisoning. Some of the soldiers said they started collapsing after having breakfast at the Tolei camp in southwestern Ethiopia on Sunday. The soldiers suspected that a white poisonous substance was thrown into their tea. And in Egypt's parliament is set to vote on constitutional amendments, including an extension of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi's current 4-year term in office. If approved by parliament today, the amendments will be put to a public referendum, widely expected later this month. Before they go into effect, Ali Abdelal, the parliament speaker, said over the weekend, proposed constitutional amendments have previously suggested that Sisi would be allowed to seek 2 new 6-year terms after his current one expires in 2022. And an update on a cyclone in Mozambique, Malawi and Zimbabwe. More than 1,000 people were killed, while hundreds of thousands are in need of aid following the devastating battering of the cyclone Idai. The World Bank estimates the affected countries will need over $2 billion to recover the following. And of course, UN officials have also confirmed that. And of course, a UN report now says Africa has seen a dramatic rise in measles cases for up to 700%, says the World Health Organization. The UN agency also says the number of measles cases reported globally in the first 3 months of 2019 has tripled compared to the same year last year. the same period last year. And in Zambia, a court in northern Zambia has sentenced 2 Chinese nationals to death by hanging for killing a security guard. The Kasama High Court found Yang Yun and Zhao Guangdong guilty of murdering Evaristo Chilese. They had pleaded not guilty. Mr. Chilese was employed to guard an arena where some iron sheets were missing, the court said, and the 2 Chinese beat him until they broke his skull, the court found. And we go to Chad, where at least 7 soldiers are reported to have been killed in an attack by Islamist group Boko Haram in Chad. Some 15 others were wounded in the incident in the Lake Chad area, which occurred at night. The military says 63 jihadists were killed, but there has been no independent confirmations. Last month, more than 20 Chadian soldiers were killed by Boko Haram in one of its deadliest attacks in the country. And we go to Libya, where the United Nations envoy to Libya, Ghassan Salame, has expressed his growing concern that the battle for the capital, Tripoli, is escalating. Mr. Salame described this current situation as a military stalemate, but he said both sides in this battle for Tripoli were now mobilizing resources and both still believe they could win militarily. In the past few days, the Libyan government and General Khalifa Haftar's forces have launched airstrikes against each other. We go to Nigeria, where the All Progressives Congress has said that presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party, Atiku Abubakar, is not a Nigerian. Based on that allegation, Abubakar was not qualified to have contested the presidential election. The party claimed that Abubakar is from Cameroon, adding that his petition against President Muhammadu Buhari should be dismissed for lack of merit. And we move to Amazonia, where the detained leader of the Cameroon resistance movement, Maurice Kamto, has written an open letter to his fellow supporters incarcerated at the various cells of the Kandegu prison. Kamto started by praising his fellow detainees for their courage and dignity in the face of the oppressors and reassured he is fully with them in their fight. And we go to Ghana, where Nigerian Immigration Service and its Ghanaian counterpart have begun reconciliatory talks over the deportation of 4 Ghanaian nationals by Nigerian authority. Nigeria had protested the mass deportation of at least 723 of its citizens between 2018 and February 2019. The Nigerians were accused of illegal stay, cybercrime, prostitution, and other social vices. And we go to Niger, where the United Nations Refugee Agency reports tens of thousands of refugees and displaced people in Niger's Diva region are suffering immense hardships as violent attacks by Boko Haram increase in frequency and intensity. According to the United Nations Refugee Agency, last month, 88 civilians in Niger's border area were killed by Boko Haram, the Nigerian-based Islamist militant group. The spike in violence, it says, has forced more than 18,000 people to flee their homes, many for the second or third time. And we go to Zimbabwe, where the Zimbabwean government will give priority to elderly white farmers when it starts compensating those who lost their properties during the controversial land reforms the president has said. The Finance and Agriculture Ministries last week said they had budgeted about 53 million Zimbabwean dollars, which is about 18 million US dollars, in payments to white commercial farmers whose properties were seized nearly 20 years ago under the leadership of former President Robert Mugabe. And of course, also the President Mnangagwa also confirmed that former President Robert Mugabe is unwell and is in Singapore receiving medical attention. His office has confirmed that. And we end with Rwanda, where 4 people have been confirmed dead, while 2 others were critically injured in a mine collapse in Mageregere sector, Nyarugenge district. The accident happened on Monday mid-afternoon as the 6 mine workers were going about their daily mining activities, according to the sector executive secretary Christopher Nturushwa. The deceased were confirmed as Fabrice Habamungu, who was 35 years old, Cyprian Kinskiko, who was 49 years old, Emmanuel Niogira, 34, and Claudie Mohamed Mana, who was only 20 years old. So that is the latest news across Africa this morning. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much even for engaging with me this morning. Remember, Dr. Matsanga will be coming in just in a bit, and he'll be looking at security and protection of VIPs in Africa. Is it needed? And why is an MP an enemy to his own people? This will be during the Diaspora Dispatches. And also a look at it. Do Kenyans really have trust in Chief Justice Maraga's handling of the judiciary in Kenya? Nabuife Chidiabere, thank you. Vincent, thank you so much for joining me this morning. And you're saying good morning. You're addicted to Punchline TV. Indeed, thank you so much. And we appreciate your continued support. And Zomo Simon, you're saying good morning, Punchline TV. All right, yes. Ambazonians, you're saying, are in serious war, and please, if you're watching it, I believe you are, Simon, please keep right there the latest that is happening in Ambazonia, and I will be happy to share with the rest of the world. And of course, the news that is making headlines this morning and from yesterday night across the world is France's iconic Notre Dame Cathedral that went up in flames on Monday. The cause of the fire is yet to be established, but it is quite devastating to the city of Paris because of it was quite a landmark in France, and of course, as I mentioned earlier, it is one of UNESCO's world Yes, indeed. So anyway, so it's a sad day in Paris, and we've seen an outpouring of love and support towards the people of France. And of course, President Macron was supposed to have visited the place. I don't know by now. By the time I was coming on set, he had not yet visited the place, but I think by now he has. And we've seen even former U.S. President Obama tweeting photos of him when he just joined White House. And the girls were still very young, and they had a visit at the famous iconic Notre Dame, and they took a photo there, and he was tweeting his messages of support and sharing in the grief. He tweeted a photo of that, and it was quite nostalgic, and now it's just up in flames. The whole of the building did not really burn down, but much part of it, especially one that is normally quite outstanding, the spire, something that's normally the top of that building that is normally very iconic, that was razed down by the fire. So that is that, and we wish a quick rebuilding of that iconic building. They might not get the exact same, as it were, but I'm sure after that there should be some rebuilding, and maybe they can able to restore it. Maybe not to exact state it was before, but something closer to that. And of course, we see this morning the the African Union Peace and Security Council has now given Sudan's military junta a 15-day ultimatum to transfer power to a civilian-led political authority or face suspension from the Pan-African body. The few times you see AU trying to put his feet down, but you would understand where AU is coming from, because as long as a country in Africa is military-led, you cannot be part of the AU, actually face suspension. So now they've been given 15 days. I don't know if that will be enough, and I'm not sure how the Sudanese Military Council will respond to that. But remember, over the weekend, they had made the new leader had made an announcement, and he had asked the political parties, the activists, to choose one person who will be as an acting prime minister, even as they prepare for the transition and later on for an election. Because as it is right now, there are no systems in place for that. They were not prepared for that. So with this 15-day ultimatum to the army to transfer power to a civilian-led political authority. I don't know how that will work. But, the protesters have still been in the streets, and actually that is what they want. They're saying the army, that's well and good, but still they want to be led by a civilian. The Sudanese do not want to be under a military leadership, and that's why they're still out there in the streets protesting. And of course, the military has come out to say, you know what, it's not going to take the protesters out of the streets, and instead it's offering them the cover and the protection they need while they're there in the streets. So this 15 days ultimatum, I don't know, they've not yet responded to that, but in a statement, the statement continued to say that military-led transition will be completely contrary to the aspirations of the people of Sudan, of which I'm sure the people of Sudan will agree to that. And within a maximum period of 15 days or else, Sudan should be barred from taking part in AU activities until the restoration of a constitutional rule. Remember, right now, the constitution of Sudan is null and void, really. They do not have a constitution as it is, because everything that has happened over the last few days, rendered it no more in Sudan. So they're saying they have to restore the constitutional rule. AU is demanding that the military restore back the constitution, and that by 15 days they should get a civilian to be the head of Sudan. Otherwise, the country faces, could be removed from the AU. So that is interesting there. Domi Makabo, you're saying good morning, listening from Minneapolis. Thank you for keeping all of us updated. I think Maraga needs to step up his game. All right, thank you so much. And Mboyembo, you're saying those guys are persistent protesting. I wish we Kenyans had that spirit. Well, a section of Kenyans seems to have that spirit. I'm not sure, but lately, things have changed. So, Ndundi, you're saying Mugabe attended hospital in a faraway Singapore shows that African leaders never build trust in their own country. But it's not even that. Right now, Zimbabweans cross over to South Africa to even get the basic medication they need. They don't have anything in their hospitals. Zimbabwe is going through a very tough time as it is right now. So with Mugabe, former President Mugabe sick, they all do that. Even ours here and across many different countries in Africa, when they're sick, they go to seek medical attention abroad. And that tells you how, the double standards and how we lose as the citizens of this country, because as we don't have much choice. If I'm sick, I'll go to the next hospital, the next clinic, and seek for my medical treatment or for the medical attention. So I expect when I get there, there's medication, there's staff and all that, and a lot of our hospitals lack this. And these presidents don't care to make sure that our hospitals are equipped. We have world-class standard hospitals that actually can take care of a lot of these ailments, and we lack that. And that's why when they're sick, they're able to fly out of these countries and seek medical attention, but as we're here grappling with whatever it is that we have. So Zimbabwe right now doesn't have much in terms of the hospitals. Remember, even just a few months ago, the doctors were on strike. They're not paid. They had not been paid for months. The teachers were striking. Everybody was striking. So it's bad as it is. So anyway, former President Mugabe seeking for medical attention in Singapore is not really a wonder. A lot of them do that all the time. Even during when was that? When they were protesting. Is it the Zambian president who went, Edgar Lungu, I think. He went to seek medical attention in South Africa, not in his country. It's very interesting sometimes. So, yes. And now, Ethiopia's Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed has become the first foreign leader to meet members of Sudan's new military council. Abiy Ahmed, the new Prime Minister, of course, he's been there for a year now. Just last week, I think he was marking his first year in office. And he is branding himself and proving himself to be a force to reckon with in this region of Africa. So he was the first person to, to meet with the members of Sudan's new military council. What does this mean? And what is happening to the rest of this region's leadership, including our own president here, President Uhuru Kenyatta. I don't know what he has said towards what has been happening in the events in Sudan, but he was the first to do that. Not many African leaders have come out to even congratulate the people of Sudan. And of course, General Galaledin Al-Sheikh led a delegation to neighboring Ethiopia's capital, Addis Ababa, on Monday, and to brief Mr. Abiy about the latest developments in Sudan. And for Sudan to even have found the confidence to approach Ethiopia first, that says a lot. I think what Mr. Abiy is becoming in this region, and the kind of leader he's becoming in this in this region. And Egypt, also very interesting developments here, and Egypt's parliament is set to vote on a constitutional amendment including an extension of President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi's current 4th term in office. And the voting will take place today in parliament, in the Egyptian parliament, and the amendments will put to a public referendum and widely expected later this month because they go into effect. Well, should that sail through, then al-Sisi will be allowed to seek 2 new-year terms after his current one expires in 2022. So al-Sisi feels that he still has a lot of things to do for the people of Egypt. He does not want to leave power very soon. Did you not see what happened to his predecessors? I mean, people just like testing and seeing how far they can really push boundaries. So the voting will take place today in Egypt's parliament, and the amendments will be put out to a public referendum later on in the month, and should it pass, then Mr. al-Sisi will be in office in 2022. Yes, how a lot of African leaders love to mutilate the constitution. It's like they fight for it, they talk about it, especially when they campaign. After they come to power, they try to adjust it to serve their own, selfish want. So that is that. So the Egyptian parliament will be voting for that today. And of course, we go to Chad, and a lot of Boko Haram activities have been happening in that part of the world. It has spread. It is spreading very fast, and the military there says now 63 jihadists in the latest were killed, but there have been no independent confirmation. Last month, more than 20 Chadian soldiers were killed by Boko Haram in one of its deadliest attacks in the country. So Boko Haram is really alive and kicking in Chad, and also in parts of Niger, and also in parts of Burkina Faso. I think I read this news here every day, and Nigeria, North Nigeria, it's even worse. So it's I don't know at what point will the rest of Africa probably stop and start paying attention to this Boko Haram menace before it continues to spread even in other African nations, because you see it's not only affecting Nigeria, which is its home, it's home, yeah. It's also catching up with the rest of the countries neighboring Nigeria, and of course even farther. So this is something that needs actually an urgent attention. We treat it as normal. 20 people killed, 50 people killed. These are not just statistics. These are people who have been killed. I don't know until how many people die so that the world will start paying attention again to this menace that has become Al-Shabaab, and it continues to grow its tentacles, and its effects are really far-reaching, and many innocent lives continue to be lost. So I think it's time that African leadership started paying attention, and the rest of the world started paying attention to this Boko Haram menace. And of course, Libya, there continues to be, the stalemate continues and the war continues. And now the United Nations envoy to Libya, Ghassan Salameh, has expressed his growing concern that the battle for the capital, Tripoli, is escalating. And of course, Mr. Salameh described the current situation as a military stalemate. Remember, the government that is recognized, the Libyan government, but that is recognized even by international organizations like the United Nations, is fighting against General Khalifa Haftar's forces, and they keep launching airstrikes at each other. And at the end of the day, guess who suffers? The people of the people of Libya. And since the toppling of Muammar Gaddafi in 2011, Libya has really not known peace so far. So that is the latest. Another very interesting development from Nigeria now, the All Progressive Congress, that is the President Buhari's party, is now coming out to say that People's Democratic Party leader Atiku Abubakar is not Nigerian. Remember, these rumors were there before the elections, and I think Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of Biafra, had come out to claim that as well. And now Buhari's people are coming out to say, indeed, Atiku is not Nigerian. Atiku is alleged to be from Cameroon, and so they're saying the petition, the presidential petition he has against, remember, President Buhari has not, since the elections in February 23rd. Remember, the elections were supposed to take place on 16th February, and then they were cancelled in the last minute, and they were pushed a week further. So they happened on the 23rd of February. And since then, President Buhari has not been inaugurated. He's not been sworn in for his next term because he has a petition in court challenging his victory, and that is by Atiku Abubakar. And now his party is coming out to say Atiku is not even Cameroon, so he's not even qualified, to it should be dismissed. But of course, Mr. Atiku and his camp has come out to refute these claims and to say this is just politics. He is Nigerian, and that was it. But remember, the rumors started by Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of indigenous people of Biafra. And so the case is still in court. And remember, it took him so much time before even serving Buhari with the papers, because he could not access the presidential, I think the White House, he could not access it. So it became very difficult, the State House, he could not access it. So it became very difficult to serve him even with the petition papers. But finally, he was able to do that through a court order. And now, April, we're here over nearly 2 months later after the elections. And now, this is what is happening in Nigeria. So we will see how that will play out in the courts of Nigeria. And remember, the Nigerian elections were marred with a lot of irregularities. And even before that, even foreign observers were casting doubt on what the elections, and there have been cases, allegations of rigging of elections, of course, voters' bribery and things like that. So very synonymous with a lot of elections in Africa. But hey, I think, And of course, in Ambazonia, in Cameroon, the leader of the Renaissance movement, Maurice Kamto, has now written an open letter to his fellow supporters incarcerated. Remember, he is facing very serious charges right now, and his case is ongoing in one of the courts in Yaoundé in Cameroon. And so he took his time to write to his fellow supporters who are also incarcerated and held in different prisons across Kondengui prison, and he just congratulated them for their courage and dignity, and just encouraged them and to keep the fight on until the people of Cameroon get their rightful leader. Remember, he contested the elections that saw Mr. Paul Biya win another term last year, and his protesters have been out there in the streets trying to protest, but have been met with very severe force by the Paul Biya military. So they've not been able to go out there and express themselves in that way successfully, and so he was held and detained, and now he's facing very serious charges, and he's still being held in a court. And remember, he was saying last he was in court, the judge wanted the hearing of this case to be in the private chambers, and he said no, he wants his hearing to be in an open public hearing. And so he walked out of the judge's chamber when they refused to give him what he wanted, and that was an open hearing for his case. And yes, indeed. And so Zimbabwe also, remember, they're now just 2 weeks ago, they announced that they're going to compensate some of the white farmers that lost their properties during the reign of Robert Mugabe. Remember, that is what got Robert Mugabe in trouble with especially the Western world about 20 years ago, when he announced the controversial land reforms that saw him take huge chunks of land that were owned by white farmers, and he gave it back to the blacks who, lost their lands in ways that were not very legal during those times of colonialism. And so that was about 20 years ago, and that got Mugabe in a lot of problems. Before that, him and the West were very cool. Actually, they were getting along just fine until he announced his controversial land reforms. And so right now, as it is, the government has come out to say that it will give priority to elderly white farmers when it starts to compensate those who lost their properties during the reforms. And now the Finance and Agriculture Ministries last week said they had budgeted for 53 Zimbabwean dollars. That equates to about $18 million US. They've set aside for the compensation. And remember when they made this announcement, Julius Malema, the leader of EFF party in South Africa, came out to say, what is wrong with Zimbabwe? He thought the country needed the money more, and this was not the time to compensate the white farmers, and he really castigated this move. And he still talks about it when he's in one of his rallies. Remember, South Africa is about to go to its general election on May 18th next month, May 8th next month, very close. And so they're now campaigning, and Julius Malema, while he's campaigning, he's made this he's taken this issue very personal, and he's wondering what is wrong with Zimbabwe, and he's claiming, Zimbabwe needs this money right now, and rightfully so. I think he has a point there. So as much as they want to compensate these white farmers, I think that this might not be the right time, because the country is still grappling with a lot of financial difficulties as it is. It's seeking for help. There's a shortage of dollars. There's a shortage of money. There's facing new sanctions. Nobody's willing to give them any more funds. And so the timing, as much as the intentions are correct, but the timing might not be right for them to carry out these compensations. And now the government is saying that it's going only to compensate the elderly white farmers. Of course, they are the elderly white farmers who took the lands. I don't think they are younger farmers. They are white farmers. I don't believe they are. And so the government has set aside $18 million US to compensate the commercial farmers whose properties were seized nearly 20 years ago under Robert Mugabe. And as I read there earlier, the former president, Robert Mugabe, is in Singapore from over the weekend and is seeking for medical attention. He's not been feeling well. The office of the president, Emmerson Mnangagwa, has confirmed that. And so, So that is that. Remember, you're watching Good Morning Africa, and thank you so much for writing to us this morning. Dr. Matanga will be joining me just in a bit, and he'll be looking at the state of our judiciary in Kenya, and he'll be seeking to answer the question, do Kenyans have trust in Chief Justice Maraga in handling judiciary in Kenya? And also in Diaspora Dispatches, is security and protection of VIPs in Africa needed, and why is a member of parliament an enemy to his own people that requires for him to have protection? Sometimes some of these things does not make much sense. So of course the world has woken up today to, the blazing down of Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. That is what is making headlines this morning across the world. It's a very iconic site, and it's one of UNESCO's landmarks. It's recognized in the world. So Yes, indeed. I see also in one of our newspapers here, Parisians watch in disbelief as the iconic cathedral is engulfed in fierce blaze. And I see in our Daily Nation here, Matiang'i defends members of Parliament security. And in an exclusive interview with the Daily Nation and NTV, Interior CS Fred Matiang'i defends the heavily politicized withdrawal of police officers attached to MPs, saying even some of his colleagues in the cabinet have been affected by the reforms in the police service and that neither he nor his peers, Karanja Kibicho, have any role to play in the issue. So that is what we're seeing. And of course, 3 universities in Kenya, top choices for KCSE A-listers. That is just some news from Kenya. And remember, there's an unfortunate incident that happened just a few days ago when Naftali Kinuthia wore a pair of blue jeans, a black jacket, and sandals for his day in court yesterday after he murdered the university student Ivy Wangechi last week, but it was his lifeless gaze that stole the show. So this guy, I think, he actually using an axe, he murdered his girlfriend who was a university student. Her name was Ivy Wangechi. I think she will be buried on Thursday. They had a disagreement. Apparently he had given her some money for her birthday and she did not, the guy traveled all the way. She was not picking his calls, and so he decided, you know what? The best I can do is just murder you. So he went there with an axe and a knife, and he was able to kill the lady on the spot. A very unfortunate incident. So the guy is facing manslaughter charges in a court in Eldoret, and he's still being treated because after the murder, the members of public really landed on him, and they caused him very serious injuries. So he's being treated at the same hospital the Ivy was training as a medical doctor. So yes, indeed. So he will be held for 14 days as the police continue with their investigations. And now the new cabinet secretary for George Magoha is saying that 107 degree courses in Kenya are set to be scrapped. Like, this is not even funny. You've spent 4 years and a lot of money. You know, education in Kenya has become very expensive. Then all of a sudden, the degree that you were pursuing or that you pursued or that you're still pursuing is not relevant, and now the government want to scrape it. That is the unfortunate, state that a lot of students are facing right now, even as the government seeks to scrap some of these 107 degree courses in Kenya that they're found to be not very viable and to be not, in tune with the current market and the current job market. They really are useless, in short. So I want to thank you so much. B.R. Garang, you're saying for sure let CJ David Maraga leave Justice of Kenya alone. So I see a lot of you are agreeing with Maraga leaving. Antony Poch, you're saying good morning, Sister Miriam. Good morning to you. So now I'm just going to take a very short break, and Dr. Matanga will be joining me. And remember, he'll be looking at do Kenyans have faith, trust in Chief Justice Maraga in handling judiciary in Kenya, and also in Diaspora Dispatches, is security and protection of VIPs in Africa needed, and why is a member of parliament an enemy to his own people? And that is why they require this very heavy security details. So that is something we'll be looking at the other side of the break. So please don't go very far because Good Morning Africa will return in a bit.
The legal system in Kenya has seen what we call cheap activism. The judiciary is supposed to be the last temple of justice. The judges are supposed to be the last people who safeguard us from any form of ill treatment. The judiciary is supposed to help, but slowly and painfully, something is emerging in Kenya as far as the war of corruption is concerned. The judiciary seems to be playing a role of stagnating and even frustrating the international approaches of fighting corruption. the judiciary in Kenya has sunk so low to the point that judges no longer speak with one voice. If you look at the rulings that have taken place in the last 6 to 7 months, you will wonder whether this court is under the guidance of the Chief Justice, or there is what we could call uncoordinated troop movement of anybody making decisions, whatever decisions, whether they hurt the country, the security of the country, the security of the people of Kenya, whether they hurt the economy of this country. These judges have done it, and they have done it without looking back. Political activism has taken over the legal minds that we used to have in these courts. There is need, therefore, for overhauling the entire system that can bring about good system that can help the government in the fight against corruption. President Uhuru Kenyatta has a desired legacy. A desired legacy cannot be reached when you have a corrupt, incompetent, inept judiciary. Several cases slip away. Take the cases of NYS 1, NYS 2, people who have been given bail, high-profile cases. These cases seem to have oozed away. It is very sad, therefore, for the people of Africa to sit, watch a judiciary dismantle itself and dismantle other institutions.
Thank you so much. This is Good Morning Africa, and the show is Good Morning Africa, and the television station is Punchline Africa, coming to you all the way from Kenya's capital in Nairobi. And right now I'm joined by Dr. Matanga on the set, and we're going to take you through the rest of the show. Dr. Matanga, good morning to you.
Good morning, Miriam.
Yes.
How are you, viewers, wherever you are in the world watching us? Thank you very much for all your prayers. May God again hold your hearts, your hands, until we reach the final destiny, which is Jerusalem. This week is a week of betrayal, when Jesus was betrayed. And therefore we look at the period as Christians, a period of Lent, where you look, review, and reassess your position. What is it that I can do for the community? What is it that I can do for my people?
Yes.
And as usual, I will look back at what the situation is in Africa, and I have not shied away from controversy. Whatever you want to say, you can say it. I want to look at one, the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya. Do Kenyans trust the Chief Justice in handling the judiciary? I put up an opinion poll since morning, and it closed at about 11 o'clock today. I tell you, 99.6%
have no faith.
Have no faith. They even wanted to blow they just didn't want to hear anything about the Chief Justice. They just say he rather goes like today. Some of them made very nasty comments, which I cannot read, but I will endeavor to read some of their comments. Some of them that to protect the integrity of our television, we shall not be able to read most of the comments. But over 90, yesterday, I put up an opinion poll. Again, over 2,000 people randomly surveyed. It says on the social media, it says whether people in Kenya have trust in the judiciary. 93.7% of them said no, they don't have any trust in the judiciary in fighting corruption. 3.3% said yes, they have some trust in the judiciary.
In fighting corruption?
Yes, okay. 3.3%.
Very, very low.
Very little. 3% out of 93 plus 3 is 97. And then there are people who simply said that, and another group said none of them, and then there's a group that said they are not interested, which is actually 2%, which said they are not interested. This is 97. Then there's a 3% that said, sorry, we don't have any faith, not even in the government, not in everything. Some of them were saying they really don't have any single faith in don't
judiciary.
They say don't tell us anything
about the Judiciary of Kenya.
Yes.
Yes, I think when Maraga was appointed to that position, Kenyans were really hopeful for changes.
Yeah.
After taking over from Mutunga, but so far, the way the cases have been being handled, especially when it comes to the mega corruption cases that affect the lives of Kenyans feel as though not much is being done by the courts to help in the fight against corruption.
Exactly. They said they don't want to hear anything mentioned about
Indeed, and the court has, for a long time has been seen as the weak link when it comes to the fight against corruption. But of course, the CJ has come out to say, you know what, maybe it's the other offices that we work with. If the DPP doesn't bring us a watertight case, then how can we prosecute? How can we, because we work with the evidence that we've been given. So he sort of laid blame on other arms of, that work together to bring some of this, the evidence to court. So he said, the DPP office also has to work hard to make sure when it brings whatever it brings to court, actually it can hold and can see a proper prosecution, and some of these cases, seen through to the end, and some of these culprits taken to jail for real. So he's been throwing around the blames. There's been a blame game between now the judiciary and other offices, including the DPP's office.
So another of that opinion, Miriam, which I did this morning, I asked again, and I will increase it to work until another 12 hours before we see it in it. If you look at my page, several of them have said, you know what? Several of them have said, remember, most of the people who are in your Facebook page are your friends, and they share your line of thought. You get the impartial results from the survey. No, will it be scientific enough to pass? No, I mean, some of them are not my friends. Some of them are hostile. I want, like you now, you are hostile, but you have voted. Mr. Ongechi is hostile. He says yes, but then he voted. So he's not even my friend.
Yes. He's made it very clear, yes. But he voted. And he's saying he does not have faith.
Yes.
In the judiciary.
No, he voted. He said he has faith.
Oh, okay.
In the judiciary.
But he voted.
And he voted.
Okay.
So when he comes to reason and say, most of them are my friends, yet he is not even my friend, but he came on the thing to vote. It is very interesting. And then someone has said that who was the Chebukati on this, because corruption starts with us. I was the Chebukati. And another one said, I voted no trust. Then we have Mr. Young Tax says, the next question should be, do Kenyans trust the current administration, yes or no? I will put that question tomorrow. Do Kenyans trust the current administration, yes or no? But let me go to the one that I put there today. Do you have trust in the Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya? Yeah. So let me go to that one and read the comments. And I am not biased, because that is also corruption. You can't be biased on such a subject.
No, you can't be biased on a poll.
On a poll, no. You bring it as it is.
As it is, yes, indeed.
And it is in the people's court. Do you have trust? Do you have trust in the Chief Justice Maraga's handling of the judiciary of Kenya? Many of you, 99.6, have said, hello, there is no. Samuel Kanjangi says no. Eric Ndirangu says no. Malcolm Ntambulin says no. He is impotent, inefficient, incompetence of running judiciary war on corruption. Another one said no. Duncan Manyata, in the justice system, public interest and national security should come first. But Maraga legal interest comes first. Those are opinion. Estes Wachira said a big no. Waiti Wakaru said no. Jenga Kamau says no. Timothy Macharia says no. Mbocha Safeguard says no. Robert Watenin says no. And it goes on hundreds of thousands of hundreds of people. What can I read? I can't read the whole thing. But let me see the comment that came from Mwangi. Mungai Mwangi says, I don't trust him because of some of his judges, how they perform their work unprofessionally. Okay? Then Tirani Gathirwa says, nope. It seems he doesn't want to have a collision with anyone or anything. He's just waiting for his term to quietly end without issues. Those are very valid points that people are making.
So the Chief Justice is playing.
Another one called Joan Mwangale asked me, do you have trust in the CJ of your country? I said, no, I don't. And the team of Njora said, hey. Becky Kibe said, never. Ezekiel Nyabonga said, no. Njoroge Wambandi said, nope. Edward Kanja says, no. The list is, oh my God. The list is real. Betty Beth says no. Samuel Onjangi says no. Today, yesterday, at least I received some serious opposition. Today, Madam, I will publish, I will extend the voting and the saying more until 12 hours. Then we come back tomorrow to make the final, announcement of the question.
Yes.
It seems that most of the Kenyans have no trust in the Chief Justice.
Yes. And the handling of the Kenyan judiciary.
Yes, they have lost faith. Period.
And for good reasons.
Yeah. You can't blame them more than that. Can you? A court in Uganda, for example, the Supreme Court in Uganda now, today, this is serious breaking news. Uganda has become one of the courts in Africa today, become a virtual court with effect from yesterday.
Okay.
So the people who are asking whether Uganda courts work better or not, you better listen.
So by virtual court, please put it into context.
In the virtual court, it means the inmates remain in prison. They shift from their cells to a courtroom created in prison.
So they're not transported to the real court?
There is no transportation of suspects from yesterday. Wow. The courts in Uganda simply now will be virtual. I think production team go on and such, Uganda courts go virtual. Yesterday, the Chief Justice Katurebe opened this virtual court via video link. Suspects are paraded in Luzira, and the judges in the Supreme Court make the sentence. It quickens the workload, transporting, taking security risks. It is said that the court will be. Has the Chief Justice of Kenya thought about this? Does he even think about this? Has he thought about what he's going to do for this court? These are some of the changes that we have been looking for in this court.
Some innovations and reforms.
Yes. The Chief Justice of Kenya cannot even think of making this court a virtual court with IT. Kenya has got enough ICT. And the best country in Africa which transfers money on phone. They are not thinking. The Chief Justice all the time, every time, asking for money to build more buildings. Yet the few buildings that are there are not being used effectively.
That's a very good step for Uganda. And I think a lot of African countries need to embrace this. Because sometimes it's when the people have been apprehended already are in jail and their cases are still being heard. It's even taking them to the court sometimes is a security risk.
It is. The way things are now, anybody can do a chapel. And ambush the guards. Yes. It means there will be less with the virtual court in Uganda.
Then it's very efficient. Also.
It's efficient. And you can know which case. You can even ask from the prison, how far is my case? Am I ready for bail? Because in Uganda there is mandatory bail condition. You don't ask for bail today, like Kenya. No. You have to stay some time in prison, then come for bail. Yes.
You have to serve some time.
Yes. That is why the law, the criminal justice system in Kenya must change. It has to change. It has to change.
As we even have an anticipatory.
It has to change.
Bail.
In Uganda, you don't go to jail and say you will ask it bail there and then. You have to spend some time in Luzira, then start asking for your bail. That is in our law. That's in the law. Especially for capital offenses of terrorism and so on. For terrorism, you can spend even 2 years, even a year. So it deters people from making any further mistakes. But if you are actually parading somebody, you arrested him for taking 9 billion shillings, then you parade him in tomorrow in the court and is released and he goes. What else do we have? That's what we have. So thank you very much. Kirui Wakipu said, I think you can read that one.
Kirui Wakipu, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And maybe I read Chooks Edwin is still crying for Biafra.
He's saying you are diverging. Why are you fearing to read so much in Kenyan issues? What do you want to see? Mr. Warui, I am helping you. The president said we take the criminals to the court. Now, if the court itself is corrupt, where else do we get the criminals? That's it. That's my position. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Kiri. Keep watching. And Chukweniko, you're saying Africa don't have law. It is sad. Well, Africa have very good law, and we adopt all the laws from across the world, but the implementation is the problem. I think we have very wonderful constitutions. that we borrow across the world.
But we eat them.
Implementation is the
We
problem.
destroy them.
Yes. Keep them in shelves and they just collect dust.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
That is so far the fight against corruption. We shall get the results. The question that is on, Miriam can read it slowly for you again.
Yes.
Keep voting and keep voting until tomorrow. In the morning at 11 a.m. We shall again make our calculations.
Yes.
How many people sample, how many people said yes, how many people said no. Whether you are a friend or an enemy, just vote.
Yes.
We shall look at what you have voted and said no, how many of them the sampling and put the general sampling, which we shall put out. We are not doing anything against anybody.
Yes.
We are simply doing a quick scientific
Survey.
survey on social media.
Yes.
I don't care whether you're a friend or not.
Yes.
This gentleman on Gage said most of the people coming on my is public. My line is in public. I have never configured it that it is only my friends who read my things. It is on public.
Yes.
Anyone
You
can
have to
go to Punchline Africa TV
And vote.
and read.
Yes.
And if you vote yes, fine, it's up to you. If you vote no, fine, it's up to you.
Yes.
I will only calculate how many no's and how many yes. And how many, some people, for example, yesterday said they are neutral.
They don't know where they stand.
They are those spoiled.
They don't take spoiled
You
votes.
can't accept spoiled votes. I put them in neutral. They are those who wrote and said the government itself is worse.
Yes.
So he has not answered yes or no.
No, yes.
That's why I put them in neutral. Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
And so, yes, so that is, do Kenyans have trust in Chief Justice Maraga's handling of the Judiciary of Kenya? So you can still continue with the voting, and tomorrow we'll sample some of the views and we'll bring the final, tallying. But right now, is security and protection of VIPs in Africa needed? And why is a member of parliament an enemy to his own people?
Thank you very much. That is a topic at the top of the hour. And elsewhere, wherever you are in Africa, in Nigeria, in Cameroon, this concerns you. In Egypt, in South Africa, in Zimbabwe, in Ethiopia. I would like members, those watching in Ethiopia, and everybody who has been to Ethiopia to give us an experience in South Africa. Do you have MPs loaded with bodyguards with guns? 2 of them. Plus the MP's gun, 3. This is what we are talking about today. Why is an MP, a representative of your area, more or less an enemy? Instead of him being your representative, you have made him an enemy. This comes under a backlog of a watershed of, watershed of what is happening in Kenya,
yes,
regarding the ministers,
yes.
MPs, security intels being removed.
Yes, and I think Matiang'i has responded there. I think I read through it.
Yes,
earlier.
you read through it.
Yes.
You maybe give us some light, background.
Some background. And of course, he was having an interview with the Daily Nation, and he said he defended the heavily politicized withdrawal of police officers attached to the members of parliament, saying that even some of his colleagues in the cabinet have been affected by the reforms in police service, and that neither he nor his peers, Karanja Kibicho, have any role to play in this matter. So it's just a bit of police reforms, and maybe the security will come back to them just a little later. So I think over time they change this or as a security.
Exactly. Exactly. There are people, and there are 2 things that I have seen in Kenya. And I want to speak from a Kenyan experience, which I have not seen in Ethiopia, and then I will come to Uganda. In fact, the Ugandan MPs are more militarized.
Or they have more protection.
Yes. The Ugandan MPs are more, you can understand the Ugandan MP for being more militarized than you can understand the Kenyan MP with 5 bodyguards.
So why are the Ugandan MPs militarized?
One, in Uganda, the rate of killing MPs is so high.
Okay.
They have shot so far about several MPs. One of the MPs
been assassinated.
Was assassinated while he was going home.
Oh, wow.
So that rate in Kampala is very high. I can understand the seriousness, a fractured society, a polarized opposition, a relationship not very good with the police. But in Kenya, for example, why would an MP need 3 bodyguards? One in his house, getting his gate, one driving with him. And some of them have 3.
Maybe for the same reason the
driver is also a bodyguard.
Yes.
Another one is a bodyguard. Why should they have all this? If you are an MP for an area, Miriam, why I brought this question?
Yes.
I want Africans, wherever they are, whether you are in Zimbabwe, I have not seen Zimbabwe MPs with bodyguards.
Oh, they don't have bodyguards?
No.
Okay.
Ethiopian MPs have no bodyguards. In fact, in Ethiopia, you can't even know that the man seated next to you
is an MP.
Is an MP.
I've seen some countries, especially in the Western world, even the members of parliament just take the train.
If we say the Western world, they say you are comparing Britain. Let's compare Rwanda.
No, Europe. Even. Oh,
no, Rwanda. Let's go to Rwanda.
Closer home.
Let's go to Tanzania. No, let's cross over to Tanzania. A Tanzanian MP has not got a bodyguard at all. There's nobody escorting the MP in Tanzania, making your food very uncomfortable. It is not the question of, it's not the question. Somali MPs have soldiers, which is right.
And teacher is saying South Sudan, the bodyguards have bodyguards.
Exactly.
What do you mean the bodyguards have
the bodyguards who guard the
MP?
Because a minister in Sudan, for example, a minister in Sudan to step out of his car.
In South Sudan.
In South Sudan.
But you would understand the security situation.
No, the South Sudan.
Yes.
A minister to come out in a hotel. It is like an earthquake has just arrived. Or is about to pass, a ripple. Several people run out of the car, poo doors. Just a minister. Then you understand that is power in Africa. When you go to Ethiopia, you sit in a Radisson Blue, you wouldn't even know some MP, a man you are sitting with, is the Speaker of National Assembly.
They're not coming in with an entourage, a whole security detail, yes.
I went to Radisson Blue in Ethiopia. I sat down. I was having lunch with the Speaker of National Assembly of Ethiopia. And he himself came to introduce to me. He said, oh, I watch your programs every day, sometime. You're Pan-African. You speak so well. He even paid my bill of about $26 for my drink that I had taken. I didn't know that he was a speaker of the Ethiopian National Assembly. So if you are justifying that MPs have this security because we are near the Somali border, then Eritrea, what about Ethiopia, who has troops also in Somalia and has a bigger border with Somalia? Also a border equivalent, slightly lower than, in terms of a slight piece than Kenya. Kenya has a porous border with Somalia, but Ethiopia equally has something to do with Somalia, although the distance is not the same, and it's understandable. Now, if you go to Rwanda, in Kigali, you can't even know there is an MP.
They don't have bodyguards.
No.
But, yeah.
The only person in Rwanda who has bodyguards is Kagame,
yes,
and the minister.
As it is required.
The president and deputy in this country have a right to have, because we don't know a threat would come from somewhere. Yes. But the MPs themselves, they should find a decorum the Minister of Interior must find a balancing act. Either he takes these MPs for training and arm them.
Do you know how much it's costing the taxpayer even to have these bodyguards for these people?
I am asking you, because that's why I brought this question for discussion. And elsewhere in Cameroon, in where Biya has armed his MPs.
Yes.
And more so the people who are armed in Cameroon are from the French-speaking Cameroon. The rest in Amazonia are just, what are they called? Samplers, sampling. They are human guinea pigs.
Oh, guinea pigs.
Who are sampled on. They are killed on every day basis, on every minute.
Yes.
Someone is dying in Amazonia. Every 1 minute, there is a dead body falling in Amazonia.
Yes.
As a result of the type of mistreatment that they receive from the Yaoundé government.
Yes.
So when you look at all this in your country, in Biafra, for example, you saw in Biafra, an MP in Biafra must be armed in Nigeria, because the north of Nigeria has got, you can understand that.
Yes.
But why should an MP in Lagos be armed?
I think it's just the nature of our politics. The nature of our politics is very violent, it's very aggressive, it's very, even for those who have been defeated, they're always looking for a way to, to get the other person. And so it's just the nature of our politics. Abdi Samad Ali, you're saying Norwegian members of parliament take the train and buses. Indeed. And even remember the former Vice President, Joe Biden, before he became the Vice President, he used to take a train from his place to, to the Pentagon, where the offices are, to Washington. And so it's even Bernie Sanders, I think. So it's interesting. There, I think things work different. But here, when we elect these leaders, they become demigods. So they feel as though now you have to protect me from these people who have elected me. I don't want to meet them, and I don't want to be part of them, and that is a problem. But also there's in some countries there's a surmountable security threats that maybe could necessitate this, say in South Sudan. And also you saw the member of parliament for Kamukunji. Remember, is it Hassan?
Yes.
Who was involved in a grenade attack just after coming from evening prayers at the mosque in Eastleigh. So maybe some of incidences like this might necessitate the need for proper security. But if now they really want this security and they feel very insecure without when the security have been withdrawn for them, so they can imagine how Kenyans go through their lives every night. You go to bed, you're not sure on how you wake up in the morning, especially in some of the states across Nairobi and indeed across Kenya, and the insecurity is very rampant. So what should we do to address the insecurity in totality, not just for our politicians, but also for Kenyans and the rest of the citizens in the country, so that the insecurity is addressed and everybody feels secure in their own country, the same way you see a member of parliament in Norway is able to take a train because it is secure. So how can we improve on our security for all of us, not just them?
Exactly.
Yeah, I also
so
want to be
another person, yes, a citizen of Kenya would like to have security.
Yes.
If an MP is insecure in his own constituency,
in his own homes which are fortified.
What about you?
About me, a normal citizen?
Exactly.
How insecure am I supposed to feel, really?
James Chepkina, yes, says, my friends, our MPs are insecure from the citizens. They are using bodyguards to isolate themselves from the common man because they don't want to serve them.
Yes.
If it is all Al-Shabaab, then all the people in the northern frontiers should have bodyguards.
Or every citizen
in northern
Kenya.
If you are fearing Al-Shabaab, then all the people there where the fence is in Mandera should have bodyguards.
A police officer outside of the doors. Another
person has said, Comrade Matanga, for security reasons, such positions like MP, superfluous, what is rivalry? Superfluous, yes, superfluous rivalry or enmity. MPs fear. And he quoted, this is John Comrade Joshua Odong Onono. And then he says, another one says, he quoted Matanga, he said, Matanga, they need security. Another one said, Mutua, you can't equate the course of Kenya's politics and elections to any other in the continent. Honorable Otiende Amoro argues that it is cheaper to protect an MP than conducting a by-election. Can you listen to this? These are comments. This is the debate of today.
That is the lawyer, Otiende Amolo, and the Member of Parliament.
He said it is cheaper. You know, it's sarcastically. He's saying it is cheaper to protect because some of them are real enemies outside there. Because if you left the MPs without protection, we would have several assassination attempts.
And like I said, it's just the nature of politics. It does not allow for mature losing and winning, you know?
And we have, I think, a caller here who wants to contribute, and that caller is Nelson. Dr. Nelson from one of the experts.
Yes.
How are you, Dr. Nelson? Just a minute, and we put you on our systems. Good morning, Dr. Nelson, or good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nelson Sechere. Do MPs and VIPs in Africa need bodyguards and security all the way in the hotels? You have been one of the few who has traveled around the whole world. Can you tell us, in Africa you are everywhere, do you see MPs in some of the places where you go, sir, with bodyguards and armed, 3 guns, 1 MP, 2 bodyguards with 3 pistols? Do you eat your food properly? I just want you to, yes.
Yeah, I will tell you that, you know, this arming of, what is the threat? Because we are voted by the people. The essence of members of parliament and other senior officials in government is to prevent against the threats. Much as we appreciate there are threats happening for different royalties in the community, but it's a waste of resources. You cannot have 3 people guarding against what? I mean, it's not logical. If you go to countries which are developed like Singapore, you go to Malaysia, members of parliament walk free. You will meet them in restaurants. I mean, they are members that are elected by people, so they are serving people.
So what has made our MPs in Uganda, for example, they are heavily armed. In fact, in Uganda, they have increased even a pickup to escort them.
I will tell you, this is a perceived threat that are not practical. If you look at it from the security analysis point, much as there are security threats for people, I think the greatest threat is caused by the same leadership. When you go to the funerals and you speak very inciting words, you expect people to be anchored by that. And so you now would be considering an option of hiring some goons or getting a form of security from the government. You know, in a ratio of Kenya police against the population of Kenya, we are still very far from the required standards globally. So making 3 officers or 2 of them getting 1 member of parliament, then the members of county assembly also will want to have security. So, I mean, everyone will be guarded. It's a double expense. If you are paying for the salary of the member of parliament, you are paying again for 3 other extra people for doing nothing.
Okay, thank you. You and I have been in Addis Ababa several times.
Yes.
And we always go to Radisson Blue. Yes. And when you sit, we sit with even the Speaker of National Assembly.
Even the Prime Minister.
Even the Prime Minister comes in one. I have ever sat with
the security that is there is just for control of public. Nothing to do with carrying guns and making noise everywhere to show that you have arrived.
It's
not logical in our economy currently.
The police.
If the country was safe enough, we don't need to have security people following few people, individuals. Anyway, Dr. Matsanga, today if you become a member of parliament, wherever the place, what is your threat?
I would want to walk In fact, if I became a member of parliament, I would like to walk free amongst my constituents.
Yeah, they need to appreciate you, they need to see you. You know, that's why Nelson Mandela would even say, okay, in an event where you're having something happening to your enemy. You know, it's only Nelson Mandela matters his own failures, but he did one thing very unique. He said, okay, opposition, you can also try to be president, try to be in power and see what happens. There is always freedom of movement. You move around when you want to go what you have to do. It is so straining. You want to go somewhere for dinner, you have to also take care of the security. They are doing nothing most of the time.
We have a viewer here who is saying, Abdasalam from Norway, Abdasalam Ahmad from Norway says the bodyguards firms, those security firms, threaten politicians to create jobs for themselves.
Well, that is not confirmed because private security is business. So they can do anything to do business. But my concern is when there is government policy that you have to arm more than 2 people guarding one person. That doesn't add up very well. A member of parliament is fine as one person, and for the interest that maybe there's a security threat. But having 3-4 people with one person, you can hire private security if you wish, but not the public resources, in my opinion.
And hi, Nelson, hi, this is Miriam. Let me just read one of the comments from one of our viewers here and you'll respond to it.
Yes.
And his name is Tamba Sada and is saying, any country where you see members of parliament with bodyguards just tell you that the government and politicians do not have the interests of the people they pretend to lead. Any member of parliament who speaks the truth to his people will not be afraid of anything. Thieves legalized by parliament to ruin their own people. So that is his comment as the reason as to why this politicians...
I'm in agreement with that viewer. I support what he's saying. That is exactly what we mean by leadership. When you are a leader, you cannot run away. Can you imagine going to your house because you are a father and you carry guns just in case somebody may come around? You know, that is your own family. You know, when you are voted by people, it means you are loved by people.
Yes.
The only way to reciprocate this love is to be very lenient with yourself and be very open and available to them. Today, getting a member of parliament is very difficult in Kenya. You call him, he will tell you, I'm in a meeting when there's no meeting at all.
In fact, most of them, when you call them, they are not even in a meeting, but they are with the calicos somewhere in the beach.
Yes.
Yes.
You see, the problem
Which is personal life, but
yes,
it's all right.
It's personal life, but we are saying, can you give priority to the service of the people?
For example, if you go to Kisumu now, I don't think there is a hotel that is not full.
What is happening?
Yeah, all the hotels are full.
As we shall discuss this afternoon in the People's Courts, we want to see the importance of such conferences in Kisumu. What does it add value in the People's Courts this afternoon at 3 p.m.?
And Dr. Masanga, just to also let you know what we are discussing later in the afternoon, we want to see the county integrated development plans. Are they working or are they just documents for viewing?
Yes,
because, there are a number of them that have been done, and according to my analysis, very few are working.
Okay, we come to that.
Yes.
And Miriam has a question that is tickling you.
Just one more question, Mr. Nelson. When the members of parliament and these politicians comes and they're looking for heavy security to protect them against whatever threat they perceive, does the nature of our politics come into play here? You know, the nature of our politics is very vengeful, it's very out there to get you. Yes.
I will tell you, Miriam, for sure, our nature of politics, for you to be an effective politician in Kenya and most part of Africa, you must have some proven record of hooliganism.
Okay.
Then you are a perfect politician in Kenya. If you don't have that record of hooliganism and doing something, then you are not, we question you. People would want to assert themselves somebody who believes the politics of what he's doing is so eruptive. We are not having the right politicians because the politics of Kenya and Africa by large is dominated by muscle pulling and showing muscles that this is me. In a real democracy, people take their time to educate people about their policies, to educate people about what they are doing in parliament, if they are members of parliament, if they are governors, to educate people. Today, the members of the public in Kenya do not even know the role of a senator. If you ask him, the senator going to the village, they'll be asking him, we are not in the road. You're not better for the road. You wonder, is a senator's work to do roads? They forget the work of our Senate legislation and maybe the resources mobilization for the counties and management of the resources.
Yes.
So, I think members of parliament should focus more on educating the electorate, because sooner or later the members of the public will be able to understand what they are voting for, and they will not vote for this caliber of politicians anymore. If you see a funeral is dominated by 2 people, 3 people, the names. We are not having, and people are dying of hunger, people are having problems. We have there's a disconnect between our ethics and actually the nature of politics we are having and our real life situation that we are facing today.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nelson. And before you go, I just want to ask one question. We still have some minutes. Miriam, today we did very well. We have 30 minutes. We're asking everybody in Africa, wherever you are, in Ethiopia, in Cairo, do your MPs carry heavy guns? Do they carry pistols? Do they show these pistols in public places? Because have you gone with your children to eat in one of these good hotels? Oh my God. The children will say, Daddy, what is happening? Because the number of security men coming in, if one Mheshimiwa is entering the hotel, threatens even the food going down the stomach, because you don't know any of this equipment can you know. Have you ever been to one of the nightclubs in Kenya where MPs are? Honestly. And some of them drink, no, to be very honest, some of them drink with these things are there. You can see them ready. Someone is drunk, is taking alcohol, is sleeping.
There is a security threat.
And it's a security breach, yes, which should not be allowed. Yes.
Let me tell you something. Actually, as much as there are so many crowded officers, most of them don't even have the skills of attack. That is the problem. Even if they are crowded, if something happens, they're running away. You know, there is a need. We have a very big gap in what we are doing as a nation. I think.
So do we need to change our mindset?
No, we need to not just the mindset. We actually need to change how we think. Not just the mindset will be like my friend Pelo would say, it is the same animals. The forest is just changing, but the animals.
No, look at what you are saying right now. One gentleman, a security officer, this morning on one of the stations, said that the people who are guarding the MPs,
yes,
are not trained.
They're not elite.
They are not elite group that really does bodyguards. MPs go and pick their relatives.
If you go to countries which are developed, like you go to a country like Russia, people who are guarding the high-end individuals, they are specifically trained for that particular purpose. For us, we take an AP, administrative police officer, to give him the work of guarding a governor. He doesn't have skills of defense. He doesn't have the intelligence. He doesn't have the knowledge. You know, it's not about the muscle. It's not just about the muscle of how somebody looks like physically. You have to have brains. Look at the way we select the police officers to the forces. You have D+, you go. Now, how do you even reason with somebody like that?
Actually, most of them, once a gentleman, there's another gentleman who explained it to me this morning, and they said he was going to one of the shopping malls in Sarit Center, and he wanted to greet one of the MPs whom he knew. The bodyguard hit the hand. He took his hand to greet until the MP said, no, I know him. So are these security men trained really to guard these people?
They don't have the intellectual capacity to detect threats. If you have the physical capability and you don't have the intellectual capability, it is wasteful.
Okay, that's silly.
Look at our guards in hotels. They sit there with they hold their guns as if they are holding sticks, facing the other side. You expect them when there's an attack, something's happening. If you look at the situation of the security, we are not the same. They are not ready.
So, in short, Matiang intervention and rearrangement of the police and the reorganization of the police, streamlining the police, because at the moment we have 800 policemen that are involved in guarding people's homes, who should be doing quite a lot of other work in let's say, policing. In policing, what is it called? The Policing Act.
Command
community policing. They are busy guarding VIPs in Africa. In Uganda, it is militarized. To be very honest, the worst part of it is in Uganda. Because
Dr. Masaga, I think we need to start asking ourselves, do we have an evaluation strategy for these police officers and their training skills? How are we able to evaluate their capacity as police officers or the security men? Are we able to evaluate this, how they are performing? Are they improving or deteriorating? If you see
Oh, sorry.
sorry, we got cut off.
Yes, just a little technical hitch there.
A technical hitch.
But we'll see if we can have Nelson back online. Very interesting views there. And yes, he was just
he raised a number of issues that most of us have also experienced. If you look at what is happening to our situation, surely, and that's the debate for today, do we need over VIP, apart from the president and the cabinet ministers, and probably governors? Do we need every VIP
to have
to turn Kenya or Uganda into a military barracks? Isn't it possible for us in East Africa, if you go to Tanzania, it will take long for you to recognize an MP? Very long. You might sit with him in a bar without knowing he's an MP. Until he said, lakini mimi mheshimiwa ya Mwanza bwana. Mwanza Magharibi. Mimi mheshimiwa ya Bukoba Magharibi.
But sort of
mimi mheshimiwa ya Arusha Magharibi. Yeah?
But you know, the nature of Tanzanians' politics, it's very humble. I think it's in the nature.
But Miriam,
they don't have
this is a very interesting debate that it makes our lives very sweet at an hour like this one, when we are actually in agony. Because at the moment, everybody in the world, especially in Kenya, is in agony, state of agony. The money is not there, it's not available.
Whatever is there is being stolen.
It's stolen, and the people are squabbling. People are showing us how they can steal even more. People are displaying us their farms.
Stolen wealth.
You know, people are telling it. The money is not there. The only subject you can talk about that can make Mwananchi happy is this.
Tanzania, even when the celebrated Mwalimu Nyerere died, did you know the house he was living in? A very small
I went
house.
there.
The soldiers had
I was one of the few people who were able to bury Mwalimu Nyerere in a crowd. I had to travel to see Baba, my Baba.
The army had to build him a house, and he didn't even want it.
He didn't want it.
Very humble.
So when you see a humble leader like Mwalimu Julius Nyerere,
and I think that is very Tanzanians are very. They have that humility in them.
In Tanzania, you can't. You can't know that somebody is an MP. In Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe has the highest number of guns in Africa. Highest number in every household. There is at least a liberation officer, someone, even a woman of about 60, 70. She knows how to do liberation tactics, because they are, most of them were ex-rebels, ex-commanders who were trained to fight against Ian Smith. Zimbabwe. But the rate of showing a gun in Zimbabwe, you can't see it. People don't show the guns in public places. It's not there. Very rare. It's only the police that you will see with a gun. But private guns are rarely seen. You don't see an MP in Zimbabwe with a huge contingent of bodyguards landing in the Intercon Hotel, and even your tea breaks down. If you see the way they jump out of the cars, they have copied the system of the president.
Have you seen them in the CBD even when just the governor is just passing by? Everything is a standstill. It's
you try to go to one of these hotels.
I see them. It's such an inconvenience.
Jesus Christ. You can't have even food in the hotel.
In peace and with your privacy.
Yeah.
And just have a good time,
So are these guns to scare the citizens?
I don't know. I think these politicians, especially once we elected into these positions, they gain a feeling of importance. They feel very important, and they forget that the mandate why we elected them and put them in place was to serve the people. Now they're trying to hide away from, which is very unfortunate. they become demigods. And I think one of our viewers here, Nong Chu, thank you so much, you're saying, if you are clean and live by the truth, then there's no need for bodyguards. And it's like people who want to be famous, and when they become famous, they hide from their fans as well as from the paparazzi. So they start acting like superstars, basically. So they forget as to why we elected them. And if I have elected you and I meet you by whatever I meet you at, I think I have the right to, I have a right to access to you because you are a public servant. They forget that they are public servants when they've been elected into these positions. And that's why they do that. And they're also saying that those who have bodyguards are representatives of the people, those who have soiled their hands most of the times. If you are clean and kill by the truth, there is no need for bodyguards. And John Clark, you're saying, but that can't happen in populations we are living in. That's why we have security guards too. Yes, indeed. So it's just...
John Clark says,
yes,
it is not only the MPs.
It's all
the whole thing is militarized.
It's just a state of...
Why are we... Let me ask, why are we militarized? What led us to being so militant, militarized? The crime rate? What caused the crime rate? And where is the crime rate? Why is it increasing instead of decreasing?
Yes.
We have bodyguards. The crime rate has moved from now no more crime. It goes to passion. Passion of crime. People are just passionate. A man carries a shocker, yes, an axe, all the way, buys it in Eldoret in the market, and then buys a panga. Why, how do you as a shopkeeper during the daytime allow a man to buy an axe and he's holding a panga?
But in Eldoret, it's
and why don't
sort of a rural area, so...
Okay, why don't we have the instincts? Where did the instincts go? Where did the instincts go? For example, where is the planning gone? Look at the abduction of the doctors in Mandera.
Yes, the Cuban doctors.
The arrangement. People have gone into politics too much. And the governor of Mandera is one of the few people who is so much on national TV talking all the time on lots of things, arranging this, arranging that. Didn't he see the instincts? Can't we look at the instincts? Can't we change our security management? Security management that me, when I see something very fishy, a guy driving twice past me, it comes again, passes. The next thing I'll do is police. Let the police come, I tell them that car number this is not a very good car. Whether the person is very good or not,
yes,
it's up to the police to sort it out.
They've raised suspicion.
Yes.
And you should act on it.
Where did this suspicion go, Miriam?
Yes.
Everywhere in Africa.
The natural instinct.
Yes, natural instincts. We have people
to protect us,
being murdered, yes, in cities, in Cairo, in Khartoum, in Kampala, in Kigali. In Kigali, the rate is down. It's very rare to murder people in Kigali.
It does not happen in Rwanda.
In Rwanda, unless it is the government itself, which is impossible. But it is very easy to be murdered in any place like Uganda or Kenya.
Yes.
If you walk at night.
It's not just easy, it's very normal.
Yes, there are people who walk at night. There are people who can walk at night in Addis Ababa. In Addis Ababa, you can walk at night from the African Union up to your hotel without somebody taking your bag. Why is it that countries like Ethiopia have managed to do their security, and we who are within the same border,
yes,
we are not able to do our security?
Yeah, so I think it's not just a matter of the insecurity that the politicians they feel they have to be protected. I think it's just a matter of insecurity, period, across the country. So if they feel so unsafe, they need the bodyguards and the armed protection and the police and all that. So what does that say about the common Mwananchi and the state of the insecurity that we go through every day? You cannot walk in the streets of Nairobi without you hold your handbag literally, because you don't know who the next person, if they're going to snatch it, if they're going to point you with a knife so that you drop it. You know, it's very crazy. So this is a matter that should be addressed nationwide, not just for them, but the insecurity. What are the causes of insecurity? What have sent all these youths in the street? The lack of jobs, the lack of what is happening, and the social contract that we keep talking about here every day. So we have to look at the root cause. What is it that has made us so insecure that now even the members of parliament, when the security details have been withdrawn, they feel they can't even walk in these streets freely? Why? So if they feel like that, so how does a normal Kenyan, a normal citizen that they represent, how are we supposed to feel? Am I even supposed to leave my house? Because it is, if they're feeling insecure, I feel insecure every day. So what can be done to address this? And what is the root cause of the insecurity that is experienced not just here, but across the country and across a lot of African countries?
That is exactly the question that we are facing, and we are helping security agencies to find out. As the Minister of Internal Security yesterday explained, we can't explain more than what he has. He has told us it's logistics from the police rearranging.
Yes.
It is not the removal of guns from special people. But there's somebody who has said there, somebody called Nong Chu. He said in Cameroon, out of 10 people, there are 8 military officers
Who has the right to kill
who have the right to kill you.
at any time?
Why?
Out of 8 out of
So the situation in Cameroon is even worse than what we thought in other African countries.
Yes.
And then we have quite a lot of interesting stories coming out of our is very interesting. This is the debate we created. The debate of the day today was, do all MPs need security in their own constituencies? Do all MPs in Kenya, for example, Kenya has a case study. Then what about the citizens? What are those bodyguards are for? Yet in Ethiopia, for example, MPs don't work with guns. What about if we trained MPs themselves to guard themselves? Would it lessen the bill that the government is paying? Would it take away the 1,000 armed special police from guarding people back to work? If we train the MPs, what do you think? If MPs were trained in terms of military, that every MP knows what combat is.
But have you seen this MP, even how they fight in Parliament? These people, there'll be a danger not to themselves, even to their fellow colleagues. So I don't know if military training is what they really need, but it's just what Honorable Tiendamol also said earlier. It's easier to pay for security than to have a by-election. So according to them, actually, the insecurity is real, and they face a real, a real challenge if they don't have the security detail with them. So hey, it's very dicey at this point.
Yes, Mr. Frederick Arap Kenyan said our MPs are just cowards. They don't need security at home. And then another one says, somewhere on Gigi Aspa, they should withdraw security from all of them. He's suggesting that if you have withdrawn security from some, all of them should be withdrawn.
Yes.
Then Haimi Kuria said, your question reads, do MPs need security in their own constituencies? I don't understand why people are ranting. He answers, no, they don't need. Like Kipia East MP still visits his old joints, Kibadaski. And Kibandaski, whatever it.
Vibanda, the kiosks.
Kibanda, you know these things. Read this, not me. Kibandaski and the friends with no security details. His constituents have respect for him. What we have is a greedy, entitled leaders.
And even Kivuda Kibwana, I hear he walks in the villages just very freely.
No, the other day I found we were dropping a guest from South Africa with my good friend Pierre at the airport. Then the plane of South Africa was leaving, and we needed to ask the queue if they can allow this guest to check in, since his plane was only left with only 45 minutes for the doors to close. As we were looking for the security people who look after the queues, who was on the queue? Kivuta Kibwana, governor of Makueni, queuing, reading his book. So we stopped and said, oh, how are you? Why? He said yes, at times he likes to relax his legs. So he will queue. The security officers came, and the airport security came to tell him, sir, another door has been opened for you to go. Yes. Because they announced that any passenger who is late for the South African airline, can you come back on this door? So most of the people who are queuing were for the airline, Emirates, and other places that were leaving late. Our plane of our guests was 45 minutes about to close the door, boarding.
So you're not
so
in, yes.
They opened a new door. We came to Professor Kibwana and asked him whether he can go in this new door. He said no. His plane is at exactly 5 o'clock. So he will take his time in the queue. Have you seen how people are?
That's leadership.
That's leadership. There was no bodyguard for Professor Kibwana.
Even in his own constituency, he does not have bodyguards. He walks freely, engages with the and you know what our members or politicians fear? To be asked for some handouts by their constituents. Nobody asks him for anything. He says he gives you work if you're qualified. You go do something. So nobody bothers him. He will not give you a cent. And people love him because whatever he's doing is working for his people. So he walks freely. He doesn't feel like he has to hide or he has to be protected from the people that elected him. So there's something that he's doing that is right, that maybe some of these members of parliament and these other politicians should go there and benchmark and learn.
And our friend John Clark is saying, everybody in Kenya asking you for a house, he has to ask how is the security in the area. Oh, yes. So have we become militarized? Have we militarized ourselves militarily? And I can read this thing of Samuel Mutua. Mr. Samuel Mutua, thank you very much. You can't equate the cost of Kenyan politics and election to any other in the continent. Honorable Otiende Amoro argues that it is cheaper to protect an MP than conducting a by-election. That has taken my day.
It is expensive.
Have you seen the sense of sarcasm
in that?
Yes, and the sense of literally.
Yes, literally. And also they normally have a sense of entitlement.
Yes.
A lot of these people.
There is an entitlement, but Otiende, the lawyer, is saying, please,
yes,
the amount of crime that MPs make and the amount of crimes that politics in Kenya has brought.
Yes, it's cheap.
It is cheaper to protect them than leaving them without bodyguards.
Leaving them exposed. And
there is another MP, sorry to cut you short. Okay. There is another MP from Lokoyani in Kakamega, who's always guns. You have seen that MP. The other day, he was drinking, they shot his bodyguard, he escaped. Again, another incident, they came for him, he escaped. Such an MP, what do you think about him? Has he created more enemies?
They create their own enemies. They're very reckless. Do you see them how they talk in public arenas? So you can imagine in private and then they're engaging some of these people. They're very reckless. And because of that, they feel they all suddenly people are after them, so they have to protect themselves from such incidences. So when things like that happen, they feel, you know what, this justifies why we need more protection.
More bodyguards.
They're very reckless, yes.
Oh my God.
Why doesn't Kivuda walk around with bodyguards? You know what? They should go there for some benchmarking. and learn what is it that he's doing that is right, that is working, that doesn't require him to protect himself from the people who elected him. Nongchu, you're saying, Amira, we of Ambazonia rely on the truth and lectures given to Africans by the station of the people, the Pan-African station Punchline to Grow. We get the truth about Africa from you and, yes, everybody else. All we can say is thank you. And indeed, thank you so much, Nongchu, for
thank you very much.
Staying tuned.
Yeah, this topic is very important for the people in Kenya, and Uganda, Tanzania, and elsewhere, Zimbabwe, South Africa. Finally, we have 6 minutes. Don't you think MPs in South Africa need guns? Can you bring there is a clip where South Africans went to bury a gangster who had been gunned down by the police. Do you still have that clip? The clip was showing a man who was being, celebrated as they were actually burying him. You saw the amount of guns that were in the air?
I didn't see that clip.
Stephen, if you can look for that clip, the gangsters went to bury this guy.
Their guy.
Oh my God.
That was a gangster's paradise.
No, the thieves, the robbers.
Went to bury their own people.
And this is South Africa in Johannesburg.
But the level of insecurity in South Africa is just on another level.
My God. The way they shot in every type of gun had to make noise. So they took over the ceremony.
That is so scary.
No, honestly, I don't know whether Stephen can get that clip.
Yes.
It was a very interesting clip. We brought it on Uncensored, the type of life in South Africa. Where gangsters went to bury their MP. And all what we saw,
their MP.
Of course, their robber MP or their robber friends. And Dudi Ume says dictatorships, corruptions leads to the fear of insecurity. Could be emerging countries providing security for only officials in high authority. It shows the public that they are corrupt, and in Nigeria, it is worse in Nigeria.
Even councillors have...
Tell us more about Nigeria, what happens in Nigeria. I think there is already Boko Haram issue, and then there is mafia issue. The mafia state in Nigeria seems to be taking a strong hold in cartels. The mafia state in Uganda has taken a strong position.
In Nigeria?
Yes, in Uganda also.
Also, okay.
Yes, there's a strong feelings of mafia, especially the Eastern European mafia that has infiltrated Uganda. And in terms of, you find most of the high of men in end of Ugandans are with Eastern Europeans. Either somebody has been a military or a general or a captain or lieutenant colonel in Belarus army, Ukrainian army, Czech army, Slovakian army, look, Bosnian army.
That's a commando right there.
Everybody. Yes. You find these guys, business is being done with these guys. You find a man with two white guys, well-built and well-dressed, some of them well-shaven. They can take you to the Mecca, Almighty, within a few minutes. They have learned to kill with hands. What? So the system is real in Africa. There is a danger. So militarization of our politics has caused us the problems that we see in Africa. Therefore, our debate of today was, do we need guns? Does security, is security and the protection of VIPs in Africa needed? If so, why? Now we have seen the whys. One of the whys we have seen is Otiende Amolo summarized it. It is easier to protect a politician in Africa done
To have a by-election.
to have several by-elections.
Out of
Because it means all of them have a problem
their lives
with
are in
the
danger.
people.
Yes, majority of them do.
It has summarized my day.
Yes.
I don't have anything much to add, Miriam,
Yes,
except a bit of news that has just come out of Sudan.
Oh, from Sudan.
Yes, and we are not going, don't know where Dr. Mukhtar is, but a bit of news that has just come from Sudan. In Addis Ababa, the African Union has now threatened to suspend Sudan from the African Union.
I read that in the morning. They've given them 15 days.
15 days
to find a civilian.
To find a civilian.
Yes.
So you can see it is a well-orchestrated regime change. I told you. Have you seen the man at the helm giving, which they did not give to Zimbabwe?
That's what I'm saying.
Did you say it in the morning?
Now AU is putting its feet down.
It is putting its feet down, but putting it on a country that they have helped to dismember.
Okay.
Me, I have a different view. From the time
Yes.
Macron came to N'Djamena, Chad, the French paid the president of Chad to transfer money. That's the South African gun issue. It is there coming. That's how in South Africa they celebrated the death of one of their men. Each one went to his booth and brought out machine gun, pistol, AK-47. Oh my God.
Are these guns licensed?
They are, and you wonder, the police were watching.
Oh my goodness.
Is this a state?
That is insecurity by itself.
Is this a state where you can live? Look, this gentleman, everybody has, another one came with bigger one. You know, he went and got a bigger one. That one now got another one. Have you seen them? He came with a bigger one and put up in the air. So look at that type of pollution. The police were watching.
Wow. And
the police could do nothing because you can't now try to arrest those robbers.
How?
They will kill you.
Definitely.
There are very many. And this is daytime in Johannesburg at a place of the funeral and the people are dancing. You can see the way they have rounded themselves around with cars, rotating the cars. So, coming back to Sudan, Sudan now falls under the UN, under the AU. AU is quick to run to things like coups, but they are not quick to run to things like human rights abuses in Amazonia.
To save lives, and of course.
To save lives in Amazonia.
Yes.
The coup in Sudan has been given 15 days. You can't have 15 days to put a civilian government. Then the civilian government to do what? What are the structures? The constitution has been abrogated. What law are you going to use?
15 days might be, do you think it's too soon? It's a little.
It's too little.
It's too little.
You can't put up a government in 15 days. It is like telling the demonstrators to stick on the road.
Yeah, because they're saying.
And you see the patience.
That will be
the patience.
Of the people of Sudan.
I think it's better we get our correspondent in Sudan to tell us before we leave, if they give us another 3 minutes, to find out from this AU what exactly the AU, what does it need to achieve in giving 15 days. We have not spoken to him, but let's see. He might be able to shed some light. Hello. Hello, good afternoon, Dr. Ali Mukhtar.
Afternoon.
Is he in a position to talk, really?
Are you in a position to talk right now?
Yes, Dr.
Are you in a position to briefly 1 minute? We want to steal 1 minute of your time.
Yes. How are you doing?
Fine, thank you, sir.
Good afternoon.
I've been told by good manners by somebody here who has told me to ask you whether you are in a position to talk or not. But thank you very much. I'm learning lots of things from this medium here. Thank you very much, Dr. Mukhtar, Ali Mukhtar. What is the situation on the streets? And AU has now given Sudan military 15 days to find a civilian government. Is that possible? Is that not more chaos or more trouble coming for Sudan?
This is what the African Union has done, giving them 15 days so that they can give the powers to the civilian government. This is there, and they are still discussing it. And the professional alliance, they have refused to join this current interim government, and that was a shock to many nations like Saudi Arabia, like Emirati, because they were the one behind the uprising. And now they have refused to say they are going to be monitoring, to monitor every political movement in Sudan. So this is what they have decided. So they are not going to be part of the interim government.
You are saying who funded the uprising?
Yeah, the professional alliance, those who are behind the uprising.
The alliance of professionals of Sudan.
Of Sudan.
Okay.
We were expecting them to be part of the government, but they have made a statement yesterday after the press conference, and then they decided they will not be part of it, but they are going to supervise and monitoring the new interim government with their policies, so that to make sure these policies are done.
Another viewer from here is saying that the AU is only saying that France has asked them to say nothing more. Mr. Tamba Sada has just said, one of the viewers. Is that true? Do you have a feeling on the ground in Khartoum that there is an external hand of France who actually ignited, supervised through Chad this uprising?
There is nothing like that. As I said it yesterday evening, that all this support came from the Sudanese. They are friends, but France is not. It doesn't have any hands on it, because the Security Council from the African Union, when they gave that statement, giving them, because it is a pressure, that's the demand of the people to be met, because people are demanding that the military should not take, because these are the same forces who used to be there before, and now they have to make sure the government is a civilian government, and the military should play a not big role in it.
But pro Bashir sympathizers and groups that are emerging who are pro Bashir are saying that France was part of it.
Yeah, these are all the accusations, because they were amazed of what people has been doing, and the big number, and then the facilitation of the transport, and then food, waters, and everything that people are getting down there. So, on staying from the 6th of April until this day, and they are seeing these things, another hands, external hands outside that is supporting them, that to have this movement to go. But the National Congress, as the decree came yesterday, they are not going to be part of the interim government. The National Congress, which is the former al-Bashir party, they are not going to be part of this new government.
So, in a nutshell, are we at square one, square two, square three? Where are we?
Now the square one, people has gone so far. We can say is 80% of the demand has been met. 80%.
Okay.
Just remain the civilian government to be given the power. This is what is remaining now.
Will it be possible, before Miriam asks you, you think General Doklo and others are just going to surrender to a civilian government which is being directed by someone from outside, and which could actually make a terrible mistake, being civil rights and enemies of Bashir before? Will they handle Bashir in a manner? Are we not drawing towards the Libyan scenario where the entire family of Libya, of Libyan leader and his associates were hounded and killed, and nobody remained except Said Gaddafi? Are we not creating such a scenario, Dr. Ali Mukhtar?
The people of Sudan, they are more wiser than these people of Libya. This is the way they have done it, as they have started, and everybody is amazed of the move, amazed of the commitment. And they say, we are not going to betray our martyrs. So that is why they're still speaking the language of not shedding any blood. It has to be a demonstration that can be a civilian demonstration without any bloodshed, without any engaging to one another. But as I said yesterday, the military came down to the square to clean the places. And this is another way that they are seeing like there is a trick for them to let them leave the place. But they are still insisting. Even this morning, people are still celebrating, they are still clapping, they are still singing the slogans of his freedom. And they are saying Burhan should prove himself. Burhan is mean proof in Arabic. When we say Burhan, that is mean proof. And they say, Burhan, you have to prove yourself. Prove, and if you don't prove, you will go like others too. So that is the slogan since yesterday evening until this morning. So Burhan is listening. So, but the international community, they are seeing it, European Union, this one now is like a promising to the civilian.
All right, just one more question before we let you go. The period of 15 days that have been given, Doctor, how practical is this?
Pardon?
I'm saying the 15 days period for a transition that the AU, the ultimatum that the AU has offered, how practical is it? Is it going to be really possible, the 15 days?
Yeah, the 15 days is still, because this message or this the demand from the Security Council from the African Union was yesterday. So the 15 days still, you still have another 2 weeks from now.
So it's possible.
They are working on it. They have to reply back to it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ali Mukhtar, all the way from Khartoum. Keep safe. We will look forward to seeing you back in Nairobi.
Very soon, yes.
Very soon.
Thank you.
So that we can enjoy our further discussion. That was our correspondent of Punchline Africa TV, right from Khartoum, Dr. Ali Mukhtar, all the way from Cafe Hotel in Khartoum. Thanks. Hey.
And one of our viewers here.
Very serious.
You're saying Bashir is already asking for asylum from the Qatari government. Okay, that is what teacher here is saying here. And Stephen Lemmy, thank you so much. Greetings to you too. Interesting times.
More interesting questions. Ndowi Peter Niba says, why didn't they talk about Algeria, the AU? The truth is that the AU act on the dictate of France. The question begs, and I agree with this man, why didn't the AU give 15 months to Algeria. Still 15 days.
But you see, after Bouteflika stepped down, the Speaker of the Parliament took over. Yes, so he's not.
He's also being rejected.
They do not want him.
And the army is the one in control.
Sort of, kind of.
Yes, the army is telling demonstrators to leave the streets.
And they've put already the election date to 8th of July. So maybe the AU are seeing at least Algeria has a strategy, and they already have structures in place on how they're going for the transition. But Sudan, they were just agitating for Mar. And I think we said here, we were talking about it. Fine, after he has left, and then what next? So
I told you.
They did not expect that to happen.
I told you,
so
even
yes.
if you allow the civilians, the African Security Council, of which Kenya is a member now,
yes,
they have to be very careful, because even these civilians cannot come together. Which opposition party, after 30 years, everybody is annoyed with Bashir. Who is going to form a government in Khartoum? It leaves a lot of questions
2 weeks
than answers.
Still a long time. Hopefully by next week they will have a way forward.
And why are they always silent
on other matters?
And on other matters. What is the African Union Security Council doing on Amazonia?
Of course, they're jumping to the whims of their masters, I think.
I told you. You'll one day remember me that I told the truth.
Right.
There is no AU, there is France just giving instructions. That's it.
All right.
We are captured. We can walk like captured. We are walking but wounded, walking but captured. We are slaves. We are prisoners of a certain country in Europe. Once it coughs, and one time...
Once it coughs, we catch the cold.
We catch the cold very quickly. One time, people will remember and talk about that. The fire in France.
Yes.
Did you talk about it?
Yes, the iconic Notre Dame.
Yes, one of the biggest churches.
UNESCO historical site.
Historical is burnt down.
Yes.
Who is behind all this terror? Is it a terror act?
No, it's not. But they've not ascertained the cause of the fire. So they're still, France. They'll get to the bottom of it. They're able to. It's not like here. Here, even here, the police are investigating. Forget about it.
Yeah, in fact, here, you are right.
They'll get to the bottom of it. So yeah.
Because if you can have the man who turned around and said my money was real.
Thank you so much, our viewers.
Miriam, give me salvation.
All right, thank you.
I get the permission to go.
There comes a time.
There comes a time.
You must leave now.
When a man has to leave.
Has to go rest.
Yes, and go
until
not even rest. Until 3 p.m. 3 p.m. we have people's courts. Some of these subjects will come. I don't know whether Miriam will want to take part.
We'll have a guest.
Yes, we have a guest.
I think I'll just cheer from the...
Yes, we have a guest.
Yes.
Dr. Nelson Sechere is actually a fundraising expert for the African Union and other agencies. He wants to look at what is the conference in Kisumu, where we have county officials plus the Parliament and the Senate.
Did we not finish a devolution conference just the other day?
Exactly.
So what is the purpose of this other one?
I am very pleased that President Uhuru Kenyatta did not attend this conference. Because you see, one of the things that is killing Africa and Kenya is hammering this money. This money that's more money.
Yes, of course.
It's a lot of money
to
organize. We had a conference here. Why don't we call this conference all together in one? So that the governors, the MCAs, the parliament, the senators finish it all. Do people know that people out here are bad loaf? Do people know that businesses are closing down?
They're out of touch, and that's why they require more security.
Honestly, do you know that insecurity, that's why MPs have to carry their guns?
They're out of touch completely.
Because these MPs collect 50,000 per week to attend those functions.
It's expensive for the taxpayer.
Yes, if it is coming from a personal pocket.
No, it's not. No. Plus per diem.
No, personal pocket. You didn't see yesterday where at least 45 MPs are being paid from a personal pocket. But on top of that, we have quite a lot of difficulties at the situation in Africa. When you have MPs loaded themselves with guns, they protect themselves. This is the Africa that we have.
Unfortunately.
And the viewers, thank you very much for watching us and listening to us wherever you are in Africa. Thank you very much. The situation is left to you. Do you need to arm your MP in order to call him a member of parliament?
Yes, indeed. And thank you so much for your participation in today's show and for making it a success. Hopefully we can meet in our next broadcast. But from the Good Morning African team, it is goodbye for now.
Thank you very much, Nangai, from USA. Nangai wants to be the MP for Bungoho South in 2021-2026, Mbale in Uganda. Punchline Radio and Television, please, your support is welcome. Just talk over there and my people will hear you. Wow! Thank you very much. Good luck, my brother. I don't know whether you are going to stand on an independent ticket or which ticket, but God bless you, Nangai. I wish you good luck. An election where electoral reforms have not been done, I will never take part in them. If I were you, I would spare that energy somewhere else, because that energy can be utilized by not taking part in an election where electoral reforms are still an issue.
Will never happen.
Where you have Besigye is still crying over TV today. Last night you saw the way he was beaten up. He was tossed up. He was carried into a car. That type of elections count David Matsanga out.
All right.
I don't want to know.
Nangai, it's good to try. You try.
Yeah, Miriam Nangai says, Miriam says, try.
You keep trying until
she's using part of my energy to encourage you.
Until you see the changes, you have to keep pushing for that space, I think. All right, thank you.
Are you kindly trying to tell me?
I don't even know him.
Quietly.
I don't even know him. You have to encourage. He thinks he wants to. Encourage him to do that. Everyone's dream is valid. Lupita said that.
Oh. Thank you very much, Nangai. Take care. Take it. All my brothers, all of you, yes. Thank you very much. This is the radio, the Punchline television station. Nangai said thank you very much. We can see you follow us very much. We shall all the time, every day, give that support that you need it in that constituency. And I hope we pray for you that nothing comes between you and the electorate.
And your dream.
And let your dream come true. You are from the blood of politics, which I know, so you will not lose hope. Keep on trying. Keep on trying, because maybe you might win. Surprisingly, people might like. You saw the MP who was selected from Meru.
Yes.
On a bicycle.
And what I know is now Africans are really yearning and wanting for change. So anybody who might speak a language they resonate with, you never know.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fine. Miriam says there's a dream, there's a chance, Nangai. Keep on. Thanks for Amazonia. We are watching Punchline. Thank you. And thanks for South Cameroon Broadcasting Corporation. We are watching. We are also here partners. Thank you very much. Security in Kenya, keep it. Tell suspicious elements, don't allow people to kidnap people. At least someone there knew what they were doing and they wanted money. Money is now scarce. The goods are not being sold. Everything is not being sold. The security situation in Somalia seems to be tightening. And therefore, they have now resorted to another tactic of extortion.
Yes, indeed. Unfortunately.
The station, therefore, is for Africa, by Africa, with Africa. Bye. I thought Miriam was going to...